welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
I'm Bill. I'm an addict, and a little nervous, a little bit, like the lady said. I've been here a long time, and the same thing happens to me. I never really know what's going to come out, but I've been to this meeting a couple times. I believe I spoke here once, and then I came with, the last time I was here, I came with a guy that I sponsored, and one of my favorite, just a great guy, we were really close, and Floyd, remember Floyd, and we came here and he spoke, and I don't know, a couple years later, ironically, the same day that I went in for a liver transplant, he died right over here, man, of a heart attack, and it saddened me because it was really a big loss, and but the good thing is he died clean. He had 11 years clean when he died, and a great guy, man. Really a good guy, I get a little emotional when I think about it, but it's been a pretty good year for me, I got a new liver, I got a new set of teeth, I got a new pair of glasses, I'm fucking 66 years old, and I've been here nearly 30 years, man. I have no complaints, man. None, and I put all addicts in the same category. I don't believe one is any more helpless than the other, I classify myself as an addict of the hopeless variety, I used drugs when I didn't want to use them anymore. There was no way to stop. Most of my life I wanted to be somewhere else, but there was no fucking way to get there, man. And, I wanted out, and I wanted out for a long time. But I didn't want out when drugs were working, man. I started using drugs when I was 12 years old. And I chose that lifestyle like you were attracted to the people that you were attracted to. I was attracted to an element, the drug culture of the 50s. And, hey, I loved it. I took a lot of pride in it. I never felt bad. The only time I felt bad is when I got caught, And I got caught a lot, so institutions are a bit, part of my story, which I won't bore you with because it's really kind of a boring story, My whole story could be summed up in, hey, I go to jail, I get out, I get loaded, I go to jail, I get out, I get loaded, I go to jail. The same deal, man. Round and around and around, And all of that stopped when I got here, and I didn't plan on ending up here. My plan was to end up the way that all of my friends had ended up. They're either locked up for the remainder of their lives or they're dead. End of story. They don't have to worry about getting the next one. They're gone, So, and I was, at the end of my using, man, I was really kind of hoping that would happen now, painlessly, of course. I would like to slide out of this life because there was nothing going on. My life was real small, about the size of a gas station fucking shitter. That was it. That's where I like to be, man, shooting dope, And so my life is a little bit bigger than that today, man, and has been for a long time. And I want to keep that going, and I know that I can. And the only reason that I know that I can for sure is that I've had 3 sponsors that died clean, and all of them had well over 30 years, And my friend Floyd, and a lot of other friends of mine, man. Pepe Acuna, Chuck Skinner, Hank Magdaleno. Those are the 3 that died. And, So I know that that can happen for me, and that's what I want in my life today. You know, I don't want to go back where I came from, man. There's nothing attractive about drug addiction to me, you know. And I know that I'm not exempt from getting loaded again, and you know, so I got to keep doing the things that I do around here that I learned early on, and I have to keep doing those things. Basically, I think I pretty much do the same things that I did when I first got here, you know. I've got a sponsor, I go to H&I, and I go to meetings, and, you know, I haven't got any complaints. You know, I'm on borrowed time, man. You know, I'm on borrowed time. If it wasn't for this program or some divine intervention, I do have a God in my life, you know, I would not be taken on air right now. I wouldn't be here, man. I'd be gone, you know. I'm quite sure that they I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to, you know, have a transplant and go through all of this stuff. You know, I mean, I don't know where you're from, man. You might be from the affluent society, man. I'm from Compton, you know, and which I took a lot of pride in because for a number of years it was the murder capital of the fucking world, man, and I liked that. I liked being from there, you know. And, you know, I remember one time I went in front of the adult authority for a parole hearing, man, and they told me that I was a moral invalid, you know, and that was a compliment. I told fellas on the yard, hey, man, you know, what do you think about that? You know? In other words, man, I was very defiant and rebellious and, you know, and it's like I told you in the beginning, you know, there were really a lot of times I didn't want to go back to jail. I didn't want to do a lot of the things that I did, and but there was no way out, man. Addiction was like a room that was void of any windows or any doors, man, and there was no fucking way out, you know. And I was going to roll up in a little corner in that son of a bitch and die, you know. And the saddest thing about it was that I had never lived, you know. And I heard early on, you know, that if I would have died in my addiction, man, you know, the wrong person would have died because I became something else. It wasn't really me. I was bits and pieces of a whole lot of people that I kind of looked up to and kind of envied in a lot of ways, you know. But I didn't know who I really was until I got here and did some of the things that you have to do here to find that stuff out, you know, in the inventories and all of the stuff that they talk about doing, which I won't bore you with because you hear it so much, you know. What do you got to do around here to stay? Well, you got to get into action, you know, and you got to do something because you just won't stay here and not do anything. So one of the things that I heard really early, there's things that stuck with me, man, that I was in a recovery house, and I can remember they used to have the meetings come in on Sundays and Wednesdays, I think, and this one guy was talking, and he said, hey, willingness without action is fantasy, man, and it just hit me right between the eyes, you know, because I had a lot of people say, are you really willing? And I didn't even know what to tell them because I was so screwed up in my own mind. You know, you could have said, do you really want to be clean? I really didn't know. I didn't have a clue, man. I couldn't be honest and say, well, yeah, I want to be clean. What is being clean in the very short periods of time that I had made an attempt at that was very fucking painful. Very painful, man, and it really hurt a lot, you know. And the reason that it hurt a lot was the intensity of my own feelings, what was going on inside of me, you know. And, you know, so drugs, even at the end, when they weren't working anymore, drugs in the end were not fucking working, man, but I couldn't live without them. I had to have them because, number one, on top of feeling really bad about everything in the world, I couldn't accept the world as it really was, you know. If I didn't have drugs, on top of that, I'm going to be dope sick, you know, and that's going to make it double bad, you know. So I used drugs even when they weren't working at the very end, you know, and the only time that I really had relief is when I was like that close to dying, unconscious, and I was relieved, you know, and when I came to, I wanted more, you know, and that's how I used at the end, you know. And I remember a young lady at a meeting said one time, you know, her drug of choice was a general anesthetic, and that's the way it was for me. That's what I wanted, you know. And And then I ended up in a recovery house. And I didn't think I was going to make it here because, like I say, I don't know what it was, contempt prior to investigation maybe. I thought that, well, these people have stopped using drugs. If they're anything like me, which I really fucking doubt, we're all different, right? We're a cut different when we get here. And I thought if they're really like me and if they're really not taking drugs, they really want to. They really want to, somebody get up and say, hey, my name's Joe, and I've been clean for 10 years. And I think, if that's the truth, I feel sorry for you. I really do, And, but, as I found out early on, my first spiritual experience was at about 6 months clean. I had to go to jail. I was clean. And at that point, I thought that God had made his first mistake, really. And but I went, and I found out something there, man. I found out that I had been set free. I didn't know it, but I had been set free. The miracle had occurred in my life, I was in my cell. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and my friend, he was running into tears, and he came up to me and he said, Billy, I got one for you, And his old lady was taking care of business. This guy's also dead now. He's been dead for years. But and I had used with him on the streets, and he had a bag for me, man, and he had the outfit in his pocket. And none of you people were there. Nobody was watching me, and I was locked in the slammer, in the cell. And when drugs are working, man, it's so great, man. And when you're in the slammer, it's even amplified. It's twice as good, man, because you're out of jail, man. If you take that ride and that shit works, man, you're not locked up anymore. You're out there in the world, and you're doing this, and you're dreaming, And it would have been really good, man. And when he offered me that, I looked at him, and he was really where I wanted to be most of my life. I mean, this guy was plowed, man. He was fucking plowed. Cross-eyed as a pelican, sweating, scratching his ass, scratching his nose, man, And I told him, hey, you know what? Not today, but check again tomorrow. That's exactly what I told him. And he looked at me kind of weird, and then he was walking down the tier. And I sat there for a minute, and I thought, what have you done? What in the fuck have you done? And then I laid down on the bunk, and I experienced something inside of myself, man, that I had never experienced before, and that was total and complete freedom. There was no war. The war was fucking over, man. I did not want to use. I did not want to call him back, man. And that was the first time in my life I had experienced that, if I could be unconscious, and if somebody offered me something, man, my arm's going to roll out like that. I'm going for it. I ain't turning nothing down, man, And I do, especially in jail, man. I mean, like I say, I was locked up a lot, and I chased the dragon in there too, and do whatever you got to do. You got to end up in the hole. They transfer you here. You go there, blah, 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 San Quentin to Folsom to here to there, and all of that bullshit, So, am I out of time?
No, I'm waving to somebody.
What time do I quit? Tell me.
You have another 15, you have another 20 minutes.
Oh, man, I got to do something here. Clean up, yeah. So anyway, I can remember the last time that I got loaded. They say, hey, don't ever forget that. And I haven't, and I like to, and I tell that story sometimes, like I lived on Catalina Island. It was really kind of a nice place for an addict, except, there's a lot of water between you and all those narcotics, But that's where I ended up, and I was able to use over there for really a long period of time for me on the streets, the longest period of time that I've been on the streets in my life, and I lasted 6 years over there. I got out of Folsom, and I went right over there. My brother took me, long story, and I ended up on Catalina Island. I actually ended up with a little job at a hotel, and the guy really liked me and was trying to help me out, and blah, 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 on and on and on. Got off parole, the whole deal. they had 2 pharmacies in town, and I knew both the pharmacists, and I had a doctor going for me, and, you know, the whole deal. Occasionally friends would come over and bring the bag and stay the weekend, and it was just a succession of partying, especially through the summer. The winter it was dead. It's not like that now, but I had a pretty good time over there, and I put a little play together where I had, I don't know, a few spoons coming, and the guy went over to San Pedro, and he was supposed to come back. He missed the flight, so, you know, I'm, you know, the last flight in, and he's not on it, and I thought, well, you know, what can I do, man? I've got, you know, an addict, tomorrow never comes for an addict. I don't, you know, it's just, there was no way for me to get those drugs, and I thought, what can I do? And I thought, I'll drink. If I can hold it down, I will drink, you know. And I went to the bar, and I started drinking, and after, I don't know how long it was, an hour, 2 hours, the bartender, who was a personal friend of mine, said, hey, Billy, why don't you go home, you know? And I said, hey, give me one for the road. And he gave me a styrofoam cup full of Jack Daniels, and I walked out of the bar, the Chi-Chi Club, you know. And I had a quarter of a block to go to get to my house, you know. And my little dog was waiting for me. I had a little dog. He loved me, man. Even when I fell through the fucking door, man, he'd lick me in my face. And, you know, he's really a cool little dog. And so I left the Chi-Chi Club en route for the Westbrook Hotel on Sumner Avenue. And between the Chi-Chi Club and the Westbrook Hotel, there's a courthouse, and right behind the courthouse there's a clinic. And when I got abreast of and I looked over there, the only thing I seen was there was a red neon sign, and it said clinic, you know. And I thought, man, you know what? I don't have to wait till tomorrow. Everything I need is in there, you know. And I know a lot about pharmaceuticals because I've robbed a lot of drugstores. I love pharmaceutical narcotics. They're pure, they're clean, dilaudid, Panopon, all that good stuff, man. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna go over there and get some, you know. And that's what I did. You know, I went over there and I fell through the window, and you know, I'm just shit-faced drunk, man, you know, and I've got Percodon in me too, so, and I fell through the window, nearly decapitated myself, you know. I got big scars and shit. I really cut myself up really bad. And I got into the clinic, and I was pilfering the cabinets with those little flashlights that they look in your ear with, you know. That's what I found. I got that, and I'm down on the floor, and all of a sudden there's a sheriff behind me, you know, and it's over, you know. I mean, my life's over. I've never had a felony in my life where I didn't go to the penitentiary. I mean, once they give you, as the law prescribes, every time it happens again, that's where you're going, man. You're not going anywhere else. They're not going to give you probation after they've sent you to the fucking penitentiary, you know. So you're going back. And they cuffed me, and they put me in the squad car. They had to take me to the hospital because I had to get sewn up. And I'm in the back of that squad car, and I'm thinking, man, you know, you had a good shot at it, Bill, and one more time you lost. You know, you're a fucking loser, you know. And I thought, well, you know, and then I envisioned the yard. I could see the old Folsom yard and the handball courts and the marble games. They shoot a lot of marbles up there. It's funny to see a bunch of real old men sitting around shooting marbles, you know. But I don't know if they still do that or not. That's been 35 years ago. So you know, I was in the back of the squad car, and that's what I thought about. And I thought, you know what, man, your life's over. You're done. You know, I was 37 years old. You're through. You're going back, and you're probably never going to get out. And they took me to the hospital, and they sewed me up. And then I had a really brilliant idea, you know, that I would make them kill me, you know. That I had had enough, that I didn't fucking want any more of this life. I don't want it, man. You know, it's not like I couldn't make it in the penitentiary. I do real good in institutions. I'm a real good barber, and I always got plenty of cigarettes, and I know who's got the drugs, and always got an outfit, you know. But that way of life is so deprived, man. It's just, I don't even want to get into it. But So I figured that if this son of a bitch would kill me, man, I would be much better off. You know, I didn't want any more of nothing, you know. Sick and tired of being sick and tired tenfold. You know, I'm through, man. I want it to end. I want it to be over with, you know. And then they had me handcuffed behind my back, and I got away from the cop in the hallway and got out the back door into the parking lot, running as fast as you can go with your hands behind your back, you know. And then he came out, and he had his gun out, and I stopped and right under the light standard in the parking lot, man, and I started, you know, ragging on him and his mother and the whole deal, you know. And I wanted him to shoot, man. I wanted him to shoot. He didn't. He just came over and kicked me in the ass and threw me in the squad car, you know. And shortly after that, my brother, my little brother, who has 2 years fucking clean, man, 2 years clean, he heard what had happened, and he came to rescue me, you know, with a 30-06, you know, and shot up the police station, and, you know, so the reason that I say that is that's why the incident made the papers, you know, but that's an important part of the story. I'm not trying to lay a big story on it. The reason that I say that is that a friend of mine, you know, who had been clean for 5 years, a guy that I shot dope with, went to the penitentiary with, went to youth authority with, the whole deal, man, you know. After I was in the county jail about a month, I get a visit. Well, I don't get visits when I'm in jail. Nobody's going to fucking come up and see me, you know. And I get a visit, and I go out there, and it's Benny Weidenbenner. The reason that I say his whole and complete name is I'm sure that he wouldn't mind, because he's no longer on this earth. He's gone, you know. So Benny came up, and he pulled me out, and, you know, on the phone through the glass, and he says, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm doing all right," you know. And he said, "Well, you don't look too good, Bill." And he was nice suit, you know, a little Jewish dude, nice suit, big pinky ring, the whole deal, you know, the Rolex, all that shit. And, you know, and I thought, man, this guy's got it going on. And he told me, he says, "You know what, Billy?" He says, "I don't know if you can make bail or not." He says, "But if you do," he says, "I'm the director of this recovery house." And he said, "We've got a bed for you." He says, "Don't worry about any money or anything like that." He says, "I've got a bed for you, you know." So miraculously, miracles were starting to happen, but believe me, I wasn't aware of them. Somebody actually bailed me out, you know, and that really kind of blew me away. And as soon as I got out, I'd been locked up for about a month, so I was kind of over being sick. And the first thing that I did when I got out, man, was I called my doctor and had the pharmacy call the doctor, and I got 6 ounces of Tussinex cough syrup. That's the best thing I could do on the phone. And I drank it all right in front of the pharmacist. As soon as he handed me the bottle, I just popped the top and downed it, you know. And I got to tell you, man, that was the last time I got loaded. You know what, man? I got good and fucking loaded, man. It was a good one, you know. And the people that bailed me out, I had told them I'm going to a recovery house. I think maybe that's the one reason that maybe they bailed me out, you know. And the next day, I was still loaded the next day when I went to that recovery house, man. And, you know, and he told me, well, everybody that works here is an addict and, you know, blah, 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 this and that. And I got there and I thought, man, these people aren't addicts. You know, they don't look like college kids, you know. And I stayed there. But what really made me feel good is that in my own mind, I thought, well, if there's a group of addicts there has to be narcotics. There's got to be drugs there, and there's a good possibility that I might get cut into somebody, or there might be something happening. I'm thinking institutional thoughts, you know, and are things that I learned in my addiction. You know, wherever there's addicts, there's narcotics, you know. So I went there thinking that probably maybe that was happening, but what really made me feel good is that 2 blocks away from that recovery house was a drugstore, And in my own mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to go to this place. I'm loaded. As soon as this drug is totally and completely out of my system, I will leave. If there's nothing there, I'm leaving, And I don't have far to go because all I got to do is make a phone call, and there's the pharmacy, And I've never had to make that call, man. I never had to make it, man. And believe me, man, I was just so, it was really a fucking weird deal. I went there and they had these meetings and the step studies and all that stuff, and I was actually kind of horrified, because I'm scared of people, see. I never even knew all that shit, and I didn't want them. My big hope at the step study was that the book wouldn't get to me, so I would have to read because, I didn't know how good I could read, and I was so overly aware of myself, so self-conscious, man, and, all of those feelings that, that were with me. I can only speak for myself, that were with me when I was a child, man, because of a lot of different things which I haven't got time to go into. But, when the first time that I came in touch with my drug of choice, which was heroin, when the first time I got high, the only thing that kept going over and over and over in my mind was, I want to feel this way for the rest of my life. I don't ever want to feel anything but this, And I knew then that I was probably in trouble, And I was for the next 25 years. But, I've been here longer than I used. So I do have some fair comparisons, and I'll tell you what, man, give me more of the second half. I don't want to ever go back to where I came from. I don't ever want to do the things that I used to do, and I don't have to, And the only reason that I'm really positively sure about that is because of all the friends that I've had here that have passed on clean, There's nothing attractive about drug addiction to me or that culture. In fact, the culture is so different now. Sometimes I wonder if I was a kid, would I join these weird motherfuckers? Because when I joined up, man, it was a real clandestine, secretive fucking society, man. You didn't run around letting people know you got high, man. That was a big secret, and it was a real minority group. Now I think it's probably the majority, and that there was actually many of the years that I used narcotics, I truly believed this. I thought the world would be a better place if everybody used drugs. I believed it, That was in my heart. If everybody used drugs, man, this place wouldn't be too bad. Peace on earth. But it's not that way, and my time's up here because it is... It's not? 5 more minutes? Okay. So, I'm not anxious to get out, but in a way I am anxious to get out of here. You know why? Because I've got a friend of mine, I just got my own little apartment. I've had the last couple of years, man, the end of a long marriage, no longer a homeowner. I kind of living out of rooms and, and now I have my own little apartment, and a friend of mine, a guy that I sponsor, he got out of detox today, and he's a little wobbly, and he's going to stay at my place for a month, and he was supposed to come to the meeting, but he ran a little late, and so I left a key under the mat, and he's in my house now, and I'm thinking, what am I coming home to? No, I know things will be right, man. I know that. And I know that, that if he's the kind of guy, man, he has resources, He's not a down and outer, man. He's got a business, and he's very successful. And if he did choose to use, he probably would just disappear, and nothing would disappear from my house. It's nothing like that. But it's just, that I know that he's got a lot of problems now, and you think that you have problems like when you're clean, just use, and it just magnifies them, tenfold, So he's got some real serious problems now, possibly, business and, marriage and property, on and on and on. I don't know, man. I'm just really grateful for the program, and it's really, I left this area. I lived over in around here all my life. I used a lot in Santa Monica when I was on an escape from the penitentiary one time. I used over here for 2 years down in Venice. I know about Ghost Town. I know about them bags down there, and the gambling shacks and all that shit. Yeah, I used to be down there too. But everywhere I went, I used. So but I'm just so excited to be clean and to have a life today, man. And my life is, like I say, a lot bigger than a gas station bathroom, And I've been able to do so many things here, and to have friends and relationships in this program. Hey, one of my favorite people sitting right over there, Igor. Because he's, I think, one of the only guys that loves drugs as much as I do. And he has been clean for a long time, man, and he's a great guy, man, and it's good to see old friends, and it's just good to be here, and I want to thank Jim for asking me, and sorry that it took me so long to get down. 2 years, but like I say, a lot of stuff was developing over the past couple of years, and but I got down here now, and I'm glad that I did, and I would really like to get a tape of that Floyd pitch if you got that. Cool. Okay. So I want to thank all of you people for showing up. If there's any new people here, hey, there's hope for you, And I don't always say, hey, if I can make it, anybody can. That's bullshit, really. Because this thing is a gift, and it's a gift from something greater than yourself, And you have to respond to that, and if we could fix ourselves, we'd just stay home and do that. I'm not talking about that fix. I'm talking about fixing yourself, making yourself better. We can't do it, and we can't get over this disease alone, man. We need each other. As different as we are from time to time, we need each other, man. And I'm just real glad that this is over with, and I'm anxious to get home, and I'm anxious to see my pal, and have a talk with him this evening. And I get real grateful, man. I know that I know what drugs do, man, and I have run into, and I know a lot of people that left here and never got back, man. The door swings both ways. Bullshit, and you stay here long enough, you're going to find that out. You don't hear from the people that didn't come back, and nobody's ever going to hear from them again, So, my life's on the line, and I realize that, and this program's about living, and I want to live, man. Hey, I got new liver, new teeth. I'm going to get a new pair of glasses, too, So, hey, I'll be around for a while, I hope, The whole thing is I want to live, man. And the last day that I used, I wanted to die. I didn't want to be here anymore. I was through, man. And as it turns out, that was the beginning of my life, And I want to thank all of you people for that, because there are people in this room that were here when I got here. Kathy, right behind me, she was here, And we're old friends, and, I used with her first known man, We used to use together, old bank robber. But, and the guy that I was down here with, I used to call him Pretty Boy Floyd, because he'd just gotten out from doing 15 years on a bank robbery. So it works for a lot of people, a lot of different people. And I'll say this, and I will shut up. The other night we were on a panel, and there was 4 of us. Larry here, he was with me. He's a truck driver. I'm a retired iron worker. The other 2 people, one of them was my dentist, and the other one was a lawyer. You talk about a cross-section of society, there it is, man, So it doesn't make any difference where you're from, who you are, how much you got, how much you don't have. Who gives a shit, Probably if you come in the rooms naked and dirty, you got a better chance, People run over and, hey, do you need a shirt? Or whatever. But thank you again for being here, and keep coming back. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. Napod is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 or more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napod.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.